Welcome to the special meeting for Tuesday the 19th of July. Apologies, we have Neil, and on leave we have Neil, who's not here.
And Councillor.
So we're expecting I take it at some stage. It's two-wheel device maybe. We've only got one or two reports tonight regarding the budgets. Before I start, you might wonder who's to the left of me, those who haven't yet met. Joanne Tanti is a new Manager of Governance and all things to keep us on the straight and narrow. Good luck. Have a look at this bunch. They're a good mob. And you're very welcome, Joanne. And, she'll take time to remember all our names and all the rest of it. So please make yourself known to Joanne in a good, positive way, not in the other way that governance managers need to know people. Welcome everybody else too. Our reports tonight, we have 3.1 CEO Statement of Financial Sustainability and 3.2 formal resolutions regarding adoption of the Annual Business Plan 2016-17. Have someone move recommendation for item 3.1 just to get us going. Christina, happy to speak to the CEO's Statement on Financial Sustainability?
No, very informative, thank you.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Mark Fruit, seconding.
I'd like to talk about that. Oh, sorry, we're going to ask that.
The CEO's Statement of Financial Sustainability.
And an exciting statement of this, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to make draw people's attention to 1.5, which I think is actually a really key point in this. Council budgeting efforts in recent years have allowed the long-term financial plan to see a reduction in the overall rates revenue increase from 6.5 to 3.6, including growth of 3.5 annually, which is very much, I think, quite an interesting fact and one that we should be aware of and something that we've been working towards for a long time. So I just thought it was worth making that point, and I would concur with everything the mover said.
Okay. Thank you. Any further debate on this item? No, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Against is carried. Okay, now turn your attention to, we get the page number right here, formal resolutions regarding adoption of the Annual Business Plan 16-17 and declarations of rates on page, whatever it is, sorry, that's not noted on the agenda, page 8 of this agenda. Move to Councillor Fruit, Deputy Mayor. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. And you thought I was excited before. You should wait to this one. This is very exciting. Look, this is, for me, only probably the fifth budget maybe that I've been involved with, not many. But I think it's been a really responsible one and one that we've taken a lot of time to go through and work through. And there's a few things I'd like to point out, if nothing else for the record. Our total rates revenue increase is 3.6%, 2.6% plus growth. Of course, it would have been a little bit less had the state government not chosen to levy us on the hard waste levy, but so be it. But 2.6% I think is a really responsible budget, particularly given all the other economic factors that we're dealing with. I'm reliably informed too that this is the lowest rate increase in some 13 years, which I think is really quite spectacular. And kudos to the budgeting process that we've gone through to get us to that. The rate increase is approximately 94 cents a week. I think that's quite defensible. And of course, whenever we have conversations with public about rate increases, our bucket of CPI measures aren't the eggs and the bread and milk, but it's the bitumen and the concrete and the pavers. And so that's always the debate we need to remember and we need to talk about. I did want to mention the increased rate because of the hard waste levy. I'm really disappointed that that came out the 2 days, I think, after the federal election, but also before, it came out after most councils. I think something like 90% of councils had passed their budgets already, and it's really disappointing we've had to go back. And what we've had to do is levy the residents for some of that and reduce the project for the other half of that. It's something that we've had to do. But there are a number of exciting projects, and I thought I'm going to mention one or two because I'm excited about them. Environmental initiatives, we've got the nappies up. Again, if I die tomorrow, I'll die happy now because we've got the environmental initiatives around the cloth nappies, and I look forward to working with the director on that. I know that I don't want to wear his nappies. No. I'm excited from my council on my right here, the pigeon eradication program. We're going to shoot more pigeons. I think that's another exciting thing. And I was just talking to someone the other day about the amount of pigeons, and that is we do tongue-in-cheek talk about the pigeons, but it is a problem. Feral pest, and I'm excited that we've got that through. Our communication is going to continue through the Prospect magazine and our communication strategy, and that, for most of us around the table, I think all of us around the table, we're really keen to make sure we communicate with our community well, and that's one way we do it. Library Plus, of course, we've got a fair chunk of money there around the project management design and also consultation. And of course, Terrific Prospect is another thing that we're looking at doing for next year. And I know that not everyone around the table will be happy with Terrific Prospect. We have reduced the budget. We've put a really hard target for staff to meet for this year. But we do that because we think that they will meet that target. I just want to make a point on page 28, attachment 13. Under operating projects, it's still listed as solar system community subsidy. That, of course, we just talked about last week, is going to become an environmental initiatives project. So I'll just note that. I understand from staff that has been changed and also in a document, but just to point that one out because I think that's an important change to the budget name. We've also got master plans going on, board review over master plan, Charles Cane Reserve, Whittle Reserve. And so we're doing a lot of planning, and when I was looking at the budget, I thought this is a budget and a business plan that's going to do lots of planning, but also lots of doing, and I think that's really exciting as well. We're also spending a bit more time and money on the Memorial Gardens play space, both in terms of consultation and also doing some more work there. That is our regional playground. It's important that we continue to support that. And of course, the history group will be very pleased, and given 2 members in the room, the air raid shelter pump will be funded to keep the water at bay, at least until we can work out what else we're going to do. I'm also really excited about the China Engagement Action Plan. I spoke last week about the importance of that as I see it, and also the NBN Digital Hub. We're continuing to fund that into the future. So lots of exciting projects. I just wanted to mention some of those because I think it's worth putting on public record. It's also a big work plan for staff over the next financial year, and as I said, I look forward to working on some of those projects, as we all are, in terms of the outcomes of those. And that next year, when we're sitting here at this time, we'll talk about what a successful year it was. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? The Barnett, swapping roles this time. Could you speak to it?
But just to say that I'm really pumped about the a lot of the projects, and particularly one. I think that ever since I've been on council, and particularly the last decade, I think that we do deliver responsible projects, and ones that, be it might be small projects, but they're spread out across quite a wide range of the areas that we work in. Quite often, I guess some residents can grumble and say, oh, I don't use this and I don't use that. But then when you start to say, well, you do drive on our suburban roads, perhaps walk on our footpaths, have some nice shade under some of our trees, and so forth, and maybe might stop to think, well, yes, our rates are well spent, and that we've done our due diligence as the governing body.
Any further debate? Councillor Barnett.
Yes, so I'd like to congratulate the admin and the fellow elected members and going through this budget process. And again, it's always not everyone agrees, which is fine, but I think I need to mention, just in regards to the Terrific, the amount put aside for that, a bit of correspondence in regards to that this week. And I just wanted to clarify, and so I suppose through the chair, by agreeing to this, do we then commit ourselves to the 3 years for the Terrific women's cycling race?
No, all we're voting on tonight is what's before you in the papers, or the paper. There's no mention of a 3-year contract or a women's event in the papers, so that would have to come back to council for a decision. Secondly, if you're interested in a 3-year offer, I think we say to them, we're prepared to take to council the opportunity for 3 years, but it's got to be something decent. So that's a future decision. All this binds us to, if it gets up, is to set aside that amount of money for an event associated with the TDU, which we call Terrific Prospect. And that won't change unless we decide to change it. Any further debate? Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Firstly, unfortunately, I wasn't part of the whole debate and discussions around things because of a few personal reasons. But I might say I'm very pleased with where the people have gone. Always very sad that none of my things ever get up, but such is life. And the new one that came this time at a later date was the pigeons. And like the Deputy Mayor, when he spoke, nearly all those points he came up with, the cloth nappies, and much wouldn't have gone out of that area at the moment. But that sort of area, they are very important things that are happening. The pigeon thing is one that I've had complaints with for a long time, and so I'm glad that came. Most of all the other things, the footpaths and various things like that, that I'm more than happy with. 94, when Christine was thinking of some date, 94 I didn't vote for the budget because I was up in the top of Western Australia, and in those elections were in March, and you came straight in and went straight in the budget in about 2 weeks, and I think it was about $5.5 million. So I hadn't done it, but I do have one problem with it, but I want to emphasise before I point out my problem that I'm more than happy with the problem, all the things that are in the budget. I'm very happy with the other members where they've gone, and I look forward to working with the budget, but I do have a problem, which is the difference between the China engagement plan. I pointed out last week when we went in with things, I don't see that as a benefit, I don't see it as our role, and if anything I see that there's still a lot of dangers in it. So tonight I'm not going to vote for it, but I will commit myself to working with it because I'm more than happy with the rest. Thank you.
Further debate? Councillor Evans.
Just a couple of comments, and it's more to put on the record as well some of the things we've been talking about over the past couple of months, and I think just to commend the process at the outset. We are at the 19th of July today, passing the budget. It is late. That isn't our fault, and I think that's worth noting as well, is that the fact we are in this position now is through circumstances not of our own creating, and to compliment particularly Chris Birch, I think, who's no doubt put in a tremendous amount of work over the past couple of weeks, the past week in particular, to get us to a point tonight where we can pass the budget. So as that, just to thank and to recognise the staff for their efforts. 2.6% plus growth. It is a rise. It's the lowest rise, I think, as Councillor Groot pointed out, in a very long time. And it's a very interesting process to go through the budgeting process, because we look at these projects, we're considering things that are going to betterment the city, and it is very hard to make those cuts. It's necessary to make the cuts, and I think we've come up with a very responsible, balanced project list, one that's certainly defensible and one that we can see is worth taking our city forward. In particular, there's a few things to look at, and they are over the long-term financial plan. So while we focus on our current 12 months, which does look healthy, net financial liabilities ratios, for instance, in order, when we start hitting 2020, that circumstance changes. And so in many respects, I think the challenge for us in our budget is this year, but it's most importantly over the next couple of years, as we do see the library coming into fruition and what that means and the cost involved in that. Financial liabilities going over 60-something% when we get there. I think about 67%. So that means we've got to make decisions now about, do we want to see that kind of reality in 2020? What's the funding mix going to look like for Libraries Plus? What are the outcomes going to look like? And that for me is one of the really big key points to note in terms of ongoing sustainability for the budget. A couple of the key projects, and one of the most expensive projects is the power line undergrounding work over the next 12 months. It is transforming Prospect Road, and I'm very pleased and thankful to Council that we are able to continue that right through, indeed, to Livingston Avenue and beyond, but this stage coming up to Regency Road. I've heard lots of good feedback about the work that have happened to date. In many respects, I've had an appetite for wanting to see more. And talking with the guys at the Prospect Pizza Bar over the weekend, it's all about how can we activate that street now. So there's a real hunger to want to see more and more activity happening, and that's very encouraging. Lots of events this year as well, a really strong events focus, and that's one of the interesting things I think to note, is that we're not cutting any events. If anything, we're expanding them. We've got a Diwali festival now happening, we've got an anime festival happening, we're talking about what happens at the Prospect Fair, and there's an appetite to continue with Terrific and with the Twilight concerts as well. So some very key events, maybe reflecting the fact that our community does enjoy events and getting out and about. Model trains as well is a really, sleeping giant. I think is a really big opportunity there, and I'm delighted to see that as part of the budget we've also got some money set aside for some design concepts and for continuing to improve that space, as well as celebrating good design. And where we are as our city at the moment is progressing, certainly with urban uplift, being able to recognise and celebrate good design and to have an allowance for that, I think is very encouraging. One of the last points, and it's probably not the most appealing thing to talk about in the budget, but it's customer-centric services. And we are, one of the programs we've got here is an application program, which is about re-gearing, and I'm sure the Director could speak more about that, but around gearing our services in a way that is customer-centric rather than process-oriented. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing being realised over the next 12 months, as well as the Main North Road Master Plan and everything that we do. So lots going on, lots happening, lots of challenges ahead of us with Library Plus as it comes online from a financing perspective. And once again, just to thank the staff for all your efforts over the last couple of weeks.
Thanks, Seth. Any further debate? Just briefly from the chairs, I think that's an excellent speech, Councillor Evans, and I think you summed up a whole pile of stuff. I'm really proud of the team effort. Again, it's one of those compromises where we've all got something and none of us have got everything, which is probably where it needs to land. I think this time we've had a really successful community engagement process that's mattered. I think we really listened this time. We made some substantial changes to the budget as a result of that. We also listened to the audit committee and made some changes in association with that. So I think if anyone wants to come and have a go at us, as some are prone to do, I'm really proud of what we've done and easily able to defend the scrutiny that we were put under and how we responded to that scrutiny in a positive way. I think Councillor Evans has listed off a number of the projects that are within the budget, and that's excluding all the footpath upgrades and the road upgrades and the parks and gardens work and all the stuff that we just all assume happens anyway. It doesn't just happen anyway. It needs a budget to be approved by us. That's what's really important. There are some peculiarities in this budget that I think are really important to note. One of them is we're undergrounding more power lines. We've got the fastest move from one stage to the next we've had in years, and that's really good. But it's a huge undertaking. I think the payment to collect this time is in the order of $850,000. Is that somewhere around there? And that's a one-year extraordinary that in any other year we wouldn't have. If we took that out of this budget, we'd be $600,000 surplus position. And I think that's a tremendous place for us to be. If you look at the longer term forecasts, and the turnaround next year and the year after is really positive because we've got the underlying budget structure, but we don't have those extraordinary expenses sheeted home in 1 year. And I think that's fantastic positioning for us in order to consider that major investment that's coming up. So it's good discipline for us not just to say it's 850 grand, just look at it as a deficit, finance it. We've worked incredibly hard to squeeze our budget to get that in pretty much and still get a lot of other exciting stuff happening. And I totally agree, having an anime festival, I caught up with one of the organisers on the weekend, just really excited about it. I think it's going to go off. And the Diwali, that opportunity to open up to see what we can do with that. I think it's just really fun. I don't know what it'll turn into, but I'm proud to be part of it. In terms of the international engagement program, it is something that's still a little bit controversial. I think it's good that we do things that are a little bit controversial and try and push ourselves and push our community. I wouldn't have thought 3 years ago that we could contemplate having an international dimension to our economic development plan, but I'm really pleased that we do. I sense some discomfort in it being focused on China. I'm very happy to consider that we go somewhere else, but we've got to be able to resource it, and resourcing it means people and money. That's how it works. We can talk all we want about our dreams, but unless we put the effort in terms of people and money, we know, and Councillor Barnett and Councillor Harris, who've been around long enough to know that you can wah-wah all your life. If you don't put the money in, you get just wah-wah. I think we need to take a good hard look at it this year. I think we want to see our local businesses step up into that space. I think our job is to really poke them into making the most of where we think they can be. And us voting for this budget is a vote of confidence in our small business sector to step up and play a role in a global economy and not think that the customers are going to be driving down Churchill Road or Main North Road or Prospect Road. That is just not going to be sustainable in the current global marketplace. I'm really pleased to see that the Chinese growth forecast is down to 6.7% this year. 6.7. So 3 times where we were at. And it's nowhere near the fall that they thought it would be. So there's been some apprehension about it coming off. I think it's still a fertile place for us to play. But I'm really keen on us discussing, well, where else should we be trying to get our small businesses to go? And I think that's a real challenge for us. The opportunity is easy for us to grab because the state government's going there. We just go on their coattails. But where else could we go? Where could we push them? And if we still think that the business is going to come from people driving past, well, if the eastern states are going to suddenly think that we're a great place to invest, I'd love to see that day. Well, the Western Australians want to come over here and invest, that would be extraordinary. Where else is our growth going to come from? And I think it's a very small part of the budget. And I actually urge people to vote in favour of the entire budget because it is all-encompassing in terms of events. It's a great position in terms of the rates outcome. I think the next lowest is 2003 when we had 2.5%, including growth. And so this is a very significant change from our trajectory over the last 10 years. And I know the previous low point prior to that, but it would be at least 5 years prior to that. So to fit all this in this budget parameters, I think it's just extraordinary. And it's down to the hard work of the team, and I join you in thanking the team. And I think the pathway forward for us is very exciting. So I hope we can get this up with everyone's support and get on with the job because that's what our community expects us to do. Thank you. Any further debate on this item? Councillor Goodrich, something?
Look, just suffice to say that this very much is a responsible budget. It's a good budget, and it's one I think we will work very hard towards. I want to also echo my thanks to the team who put this together, particularly Ginny and Chris. It's an amazing job that you need to do and that you do for us really professionally, really well, so thank you for that. I too would urge people to vote for this. I think it's always good to have unanimous voting for budgets, accepting that there are different views about different budget items, but would certainly urge everyone to vote for it. It's a good budget and I look forward to a good year.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against? It is carried.
Vision.
Call for a division. All those in negative, please stand.
You can both change your mind, Alan.
Still carried. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the discussion and the meeting tonight. So this meeting is closed. We'll resume the workshop in about 5 minutes, I'd say.